Welcome back to our YouTube channel, The Tower of Babel. An ancient story from Genesis captures humanity's ambitious attempt to reach the heavens. Led by Nimrod, this endeavor ended in divine intervention, scattering people and languages across the earth. Centuries later, Babylon rose under King Nebuchadnezzar II, symbolizing both greatness and the perils of pride. His downfall mirrored the lessons of Babel. In the end times, the Antichrist's rise and the fall of Babylon the Great highlight the ultimate clash between human defiance and divine sovereignty. The awful truth of the Tower of Babel interweaves these tales, underscoring the dangers of pride and the enduring power of humility and obedience to God. In the early days of human civilization, after the Great Flood had subsided and Noah's descendants began to populate the earth, the world was united under one language and one culture. This unity brought a sense of purpose and ambition to humanity, leading them to strive for greatness together. Among the descendants was a man named Nimrod, a mighty hunter and a natural leader. His charisma and strength made him a figure of admiration and fear. Nimrod's vision was grand. He sought to build a city that would stand as a monument to human achievement, a city with a tower reaching the heavens. This city would be called Babel, in the land of Shinar. Nimrod gathered the people and spoke of a future where they would make a name for themselves and avoid being scattered across the earth.
The rise of Babel, the construction of the city, began with fervor. People from all corners of the land came to Babel, bringing their skills, strength, and dedication. The tower's construction was a marvel of engineering, with its base vast enough to house thousands and its peak intended to pierce the skies. Nimrod stood atop the growing structure, watching the laborers with a sense of pride and accomplishment.
"Look at what we have achieved," he proclaimed to the assembly one evening as the sun set behind the nearly completed tower. "We are united in purpose and strength. Our name will echo through the ages, and we shall never be scattered." The people cheered, their spirits buoyed by Nimrod's vision. They believed in the promise of unity and greatness, not knowing the ominous fate that awaited them.
The divine intervention as the tower grew taller, it attracted the attention of the heavens. God looked down upon the city and saw the pride and ambition of the people. The unity that once served as a foundation for growth had become a breeding ground for arrogance. God, in his wisdom, decided to intervene to prevent humanity from overstepping their bounds and falling into greater sin.
One morning, as the workers went about their tasks, something strange began to happen. They found themselves unable to understand each other. Their once unified language had been fragmented into many tongues. Confusion spread like wildfire through the construction site. "Pass me that brick," one worker shouted, but his words were met with a blank stare and a string of incomprehensible sounds. Nimrod, realizing what was happening, tried to restore order, but his commands were met with the same confusion. The unity that had built Babel was now its undoing. The work ceased, and the people began to disperse, driven by frustration and fear. The city of Babel was left unfinished, a testament to human pride and divine judgment.
The legacy of Nimrod, now isolated and powerless, wandered the ruins of his once great city. The echoes of his dreams haunted him as he walked through the deserted streets. He saw the remnants of the tower, a broken structure that reached neither heaven nor earth.
Years passed, and Nimrod's name became a legend, a cautionary tale of ambition unchecked by humility. The scattered people of Babel formed new nations, each with its own language and culture. The memory of the tower faded, but its lessons lingered in the hearts of men. The rise of Babylon centuries later, in the same region of Shinar, a new city began to rise. Babylon. This city, unlike Babel, was built with the lessons of the past in mind. Its rulers sought power and wealth, but also understood the need for divine favor. Among these rulers was King Nebuchadnezzar II, a man of great ambition and intellect. Nebuchadnezzar expanded Babylon's influence through conquest and diplomacy. He built grand palaces, hanging gardens, and towering walls that made Babylon the jewel of the ancient world. His reign was marked by prosperity and glory, but also by pride. One night, Nebuchadnezzar had a troubling dream. He saw a great statue with a head of gold, chest of silver, belly of bronze, legs of iron, and feet of iron mixed with clay. A stone, not cut by human hands, struck the statue at its feet, shattering it into pieces. The stone grew into a mountain that filled the whole earth. Disturbed by this vision, Nebuchadnezzar summoned his wise men, but they could not interpret the dream. Finally, a young Hebrew named Daniel was brought before the king. Daniel, known for his wisdom and connection to the divine, interpreted the dream. "Your Majesty," Daniel began, "you are the head of gold. After you will come other kingdoms, inferior to yours. The stone represents a kingdom set up by God which will crush all these kingdoms and endure forever." Nebuchadnezzar was awed by the interpretation and acknowledged the power of Daniel's God. Yet despite this revelation, his pride remained.
Nebuchadnezzar's fall. As time passed, Nebuchadnezzar's pride grew. One day, as he walked on the roof of his palace, he looked out over Babylon and said, "Is not this the great Babylon I have built as the royal residence, by my mighty power and for the glory of my majesty?"
No sooner had he spoken these words than a voice from heaven declared, "Your royal authority has been taken from you. You will be driven away from people and will live with the wild animals. You will eat grass like the ox. 7 times will pass by for you until you acknowledge that the Most High is sovereign over all kingdoms on earth and gives them to anyone he wishes." Immediately the prophecy was fulfilled. Nebuchadnezzar was driven away from his palace, living like an animal in the wilderness. His hair grew long, and his nails became like the claws of a bird. The mighty king was humbled before God. After 7 years, Nebuchadnezzar's sanity was restored. He lifted his eyes to heaven and praised the Most High, acknowledging God's sovereignty. His kingdom was restored to him, greater than before, but now he ruled with humility, knowing that all power came from the divine. The Antichrist generations passed, and the world saw the rise and fall of many empires. The lessons of Babel and Babylon were recorded in sacred texts, reminding humanity of the dangers of pride and the necessity of divine acknowledgement. Yet, as the end times approached, a new figure emerged on the world stage: the Antichrist. The Antichrist, a charismatic and powerful leader, rose to prominence during a time of great turmoil. He promised peace and unity, drawing people from all nations to his cause. His rise was swift, and soon he held dominion over a vast empire that spanned the globe. Unlike Nimrod or Nebuchadnezzar, the Antichrist did not merely seek to build a city or an empire. He sought to establish a kingdom that would rival God's own. He performed miracles, deceiving many into believing he was a divine figure. Under his rule, a new city was built, greater than Babel or Babylon, symbolizing the height of human achievement and rebellion against God. The fall of Babylon the Great. The book of Revelation foretold the rise of Babylon the Great, a city representing the zenith of human pride and opposition to God. The Antichrist city embodied this prophecy, a center of commerce, culture, and power. It was a place where human ambition knew no bounds, and the divine was mocked. Despite the Antichrist's promises of peace, his reign was marked by persecution and bloodshed. Those who refused to worship him were hunted and killed. The faithful, remembering the lessons of Babel and Babylon, resisted, knowing that true power belonged to God alone. In a final act of defiance, the Antichrist declared himself to be God, demanding worship from all. But the heavens did not remain silent. The judgments foretold in Revelation began to unfold: plagues, natural disasters, and celestial signs that shook the earth to its core. Babylon the Great, the symbol of human pride and rebellion, faced divine wrath. In 1 hour the city was laid to waste. The merchants and kings of the earth wept and mourned, for their source of wealth and power was gone. The Antichrist's empire crumbled and he was cast down, his power broken by the true King of Kings. The restoration with the fall of the Antichrist and Babylon the Great, a new era dawned. The faithful who had endured persecution and suffering were vindicated. The stone that Nebuchadnezzar had seen in his dream, representing God's eternal kingdom, became a reality. Christ returned, establishing his reign of peace and justice. The scattered nations were united, not by human ambition, but by divine grace. The languages that had once been confused at Babel were now harmonized in praise of the Most High. The The lessons of Babel, Babylon, and the Antichrist were etched into the annals of history. Humanity had learned the hard truth. Pride and rebellion lead to destruction, but humility and obedience to God bring true unity and everlasting peace.
A new beginning, the new world that emerged from the ashes of Babylon the Great, was one of harmony and reverence for the divine. The people, now united in a common language of love and worship, built a new city. This city was not a testament to human achievement, but to God's grace and mercy.
In the center of the city stood a monument, not a tower reaching for the heavens, but a simple, humble structure symbolizing the earth's submission to the heavens.